Good morning, dear learners. Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today we'll discuss about objectivity in social sciences. It is very important that there should be objectivity. But what is objectivity? What do you mean by objectivity? Objectivity can be understood as the direction given to the researcher to be unbiased and open to criticism. See, it is very important that whenever a researcher is conducting any research, that researcher should be unbiased. If researcher is biased, then there are the chances that we can we that research the results could be we cannot generalize those results. So it is very important that researcher should be unbiased, right? It means that the evidences and fact need to be verified dispassionately. Whatever facts, whatever evidences you are getting, it should be verified without biased, so that you can generalize the results, so that you can conclude the exact results. Conclusion needs to be drawn on the basis of the facts without any value judgment or preconceived notions, free of individual's personal belief. So what is objectivity? Objectivity means that whatever the researcher should be unbiased. He researcher should verify the facts unbiasedly, and whatever conclusion drawn from those results should be free from any biases or any preconceived notions or the judgments of the researcher, right? So it should be free from the individual's personal belief or wish or will, right? So objectivity in social sciences has its origin in positivism, right? If you remember Durkheim said that it is possible to study the social sciences objectively as we can study natural sciences. So the roots of objectivity has its origin in positivism. Durkheim was a positivist, which propounds that researchers should remain distanced from what they studied. Right? Finding depends on the nature of what was studied rather than on the personality, belief, and values of the researcher. So, in short, what is objectivity? Objectivity is that researchers should maintain a distance, should keep away all the beliefs, values, notions, or the biasness, preconceived notions or the biasness, and should conduct the research unbiasedly, right? So it should be free from the personality, beliefs, and values of the researcher. And objectivity has its roots in positivism, right? Objectivity is often considered as an ideal for scientific inquiry, as a good reason for valuing scientific knowledge as the basic of authority of science in society. Durkheim and objectivity, because objectivity has its roots, has its origin in positivism, and Durkheim is the one who said that we can study the social sciences as we can conduct researches in natural sciences objectively. We can study the society objectively as we can study the natural sciences. So, according to Durkheim, it is possible to study the science, social science, or the society objectively. Durkheim worked towards making a sociology a distinctively different from other disciplines. It is because of the efforts of the Durkheim that we are able to uh, this that sociology has emerged as a academic discipline, right? Durkheim outlined the methodological aspects of sociology, and in doing so, also brought out a clarified issue of the objectivity. When we were discussing about the Durkheim, we discussed a book written by the uh, Durkheim, that is the sociological method, in which he stated what all methods should be applied to conduct the research in social sciences. How can we study the society objectively? So, Durkheim outlined the methodologies or the methodological aspects of sociology. How can we conduct the research in society or in social sciences? right? So he clarified the issues of objectivity, how objectively we can study the society objectively. Social fact, we discussed about social fact in detail, right? Durkheim, while trying to develop the subject matter of sociology and its method, propounded that all preconception must be eradicated. In the rules of sociological method, Durkheim emphasized that there are certain facts in social life which cannot be explained by physical or psychological analysis, and these were the social facts. What are the social facts? According to Durkheim, we discussed about social fact. What is the social fact? Anything, things, anything can be social fact. We can study anything in the society, and what is the social fact? Anything which can be studied is known as the social fact, right? So according to Durkheim, social fact is what? Social facts are uh, uh, there are certain facts in social life which cannot be explained by physical or the psychological analysis, and these are the social facts, right? According to Durkheim, social facts have an objective reality that sociologists can study in a way similar how other scientists such as physicists study the physical world. So what are social facts? The things are the social facts. So as per Durkheim, we can study the social fact as, now we can study the things as scientists in a similar way as the other scientists such as physicists or any other natural scientist study the physical world. Because social facts are what? Social facts, according to Durkheim, social facts are nothing but the things, and we can study unbiasedly these things as we can study other natural things in a similar way, right? Social facts are objective and are capable of being perceived from outside. So, according to Durkheim, it is important that researchers should observe the thing from the outside. Researchers should not indulge with the society, right? If the researcher is studying the things from the outside, then only the researcher could be unbiased. And when researcher will be unbiased, you can study the society objectively or the social fact objectively. So, according to Durkheim, it is possible to study the social sciences objectively, or to study the society objectively, and how you can do that? Through social facts. Social facts are the things, these are nothing but the external things, right? And the social facts are objective and are capable of being perceived from the outside, right. Social facts are understood only by the sociological laws. There can be no psychological explanation of these facts. Sociology cannot be explained by the principle of utility or individual motivation, right? Its explanation can only be social. So, as per Durkheim, this social fact could be understood only by the sociological laws. One should not apply the psychological facts or the laws to this. There is nothing can be explained by the principle of utility or motivation or anything else. It can be explained only by the social facts, right? A social fact is every way of acting fixed or not capable of exercising on individual and external constraint, or again every way of acting which is general throughout a given society, while at the same time existing in its own right independent of its individual manifestation. So, as per Durkheim, a social fact is characterized by its being external to the individual. Social fact, what are the social fact? That is, some external things are the social facts. So, the social facts are characterized by the external, that it is being external to the individual. Nothing that it is external to the individual, and like any other thing, individual can study these social fact, right? Constraining upon the individual and its independent of the individual should be treated as a thing as per the first rule. Think, what are the social facts? Think. What are social facts? Are the things. The first rule is that it is independent of individual, right? It is an external thing, and and it should be that social fact should be treated as a rule. Sorry, as a thing. This is the first rule. This characteristic is important as understanding and establishing that would help them in objectivity of his methods. While social fact is considered as a thing, it can be directly observed and objectively measured because it is external thing. Because social facts are the thing. When it is a thing, you can externally observe the thing, or you can objectively measure the thing, right? Because it is the thing, so that researcher can study it objectively, can observe it from the outside. It is not related to the individual, right? So according to Durkheim, it is possible to study the society objectively through social facts, and social facts are nothing but the external thing which can be observed and studied objectively or measured objectively. In order to study a social phenomenon objectively, a scientist must define the thing he treats in order that his subject matter may be known. The definition of the phenomenon to be objective must take into consideration the natural characteristics of the phenomena and not the ideas of it. So, how can you conduct this? How can you define these things? Through certain characteristics, natural characteristics of the phenomenon, and not through the ideas of it. So through social facts, you can, according to Durkheim, through social fact, researcher can study the society objectively, right? This study of suicide, Durkheim was of the opinion that his study of suicide supported his methodological views and argued that his study of suicide demonstrated that real laws are discoverable and social phenomena obey laws in the same way as the natural phenomenon. Durkheim identified various types of suicides like altruistic suicide, egoistic suicide, and anomic suicide. We discussed all these types of the suicide in detail. These types of suicides were characterized on the basis of level of integration of an individual had with the society. So, how he differentiated, how he identified these types of the suicide, whether it's an altruistic or egoistic or anomic suicide, that is, he defined it according to the he categorized it on the basis of the integration of an individual with the society, how individual was integrated with the society, right? So Durkheim used detailed statistical records of suicide from number of European societies. He compared those data and then concluded. Results showed that the rate of suicide was fairly constant over a period of years, that there were significant difference in the suicide rate between the societies and between the social group within each society. So he compared and contrasted the suicide rates of various societies. So right. So according to his studies, that what he observed that that the suicide was fairly constant over a period of years, and there was a significant difference in the suicide rate between the societies and between the within the societies between the social groups, right? From these observations, he argued that suicide rate should be regarded as a social fact. So, from these, he concluded that suicide could be regarded as a social fact, or it's a thing which can be observed from outside and can be studied objectively. Since the rates varied systematically between the society, it may be assumed that there are socially determined. As we said that he found that the rate of suicide was constant for a particular period, and there was a significant difference in the suicidal rate between the societies and within the social and between the social groups within a society. So, from these observations, he concluded that the rates varied systematically between these societies, and it may be assumed that they are socially determined, because from this he concluded that these types of societies are based on the integration of an individual with the society, because it varies from society to society. The Kim claimed that each society is predisposed to contribute a definite quota of voluntary death. The answer to differing rates in this society can be explained by analyzing the society and not the individual. So, how can you analyze that why there is a difference in the suicide rate within the society or between the various society? It depends on the. It depends. It can be explained by analyzing the society, but not the individual, because according to Durkheim, that the suicide depends on the society, right? The study of suicide proved that the behavior of an individual was a product of a social fact rather than the individual motives. From this study, he concluded that the behavior of individual depends on the social facts. It depends on the society rather than the individual motives. How this society sees an individual, how society perceives the thing. So, according to Durkheim, so suicide that this suicide is a product of a suicide is because of the social pressure, or because of the integration of an individual with the society. So, so suicide of an individual is a social fact rather than the individual motive, right? Although suicide seems to be a personal and private act, its causes lie in the nature of social group. It is therefore product of social forces which are external to and act upon the individual. Right. So, as he studied various societies, compared and contrasted various societies and various groups within the society, from this he concluded, from this Durkheim concluded that uh, suicide is a social fact. It is a thing which can be observed from the outside, and you can study the things objectively, right? So, according to Durkheim, one can study the society objectively through social facts by observing the social fact externally without being a part of that society, right? So, Weber on objectivity, right? Methodological debates in Germany can be understood on the basis of two interrelated factors. There tended to be in Germany a firm division between the natural sciences and the cultural disciplines. This led to only a natural phenomenon to be seen as open to the theoretical analysis. This, as a consequences, led to the studies in natural and social phenomenon developed in a different ways. According to Durkheim, we can study the social sciences objectively as we can study the natural sciences. But during Weber's time, there is a methodological debates in the Germany, right? Uh, that they are tended to be in Germany a firm division between the natural sciences and the cultural discipline, right? So, during that period, that this debate led to this debate led that the natural phenomenon to be seen as open to the theoretical analysis, right? And so then the social phenomenon should be developed in a different way, right? See, after the early works of Adam Smith and David Ricardo, non Marxist economic theory becomes stagnant, with the result the economics had a great difficulty in trying to explain the working of actual industrial economies they existed in the 19th century. So these problem could be dealt by developing the better theories or by avoiding science altogether and to concentrate on the historical development of a particular economic system. Right. So this led to the development of historical and the theoretical economics, which also had a methodological issues dividing them into see at the time of uh, um, during the early works of Adam Smith and David Ricardo, it became that the non-Marxist economic theory becomes stagnant and it become difficult to explain those theories. So it could be this problem could be dealt through by developing the better theories or by avoiding the science altogether and to concentrate on the historical development of particular economic system, right? So this led to the development of historical and the theoretical economics, which had methodological issues dividing them. There were four issues which these two groups disagreed upon. Weber used these debate as his baseline to develop his own methodological orientation. He tried to bridge a gap between the two groups and the origin of his argument to the two schools of thought to be found in the work of William Delthe and Ricketts. It was these two people who provided the methodological tool for Weber to build his sociology. It was the period while the sociologists were finding it difficult to explain the phenomenon. They were looking for something on the basis of which they could explain the economic phenomenon. So this led to the development of the historical and the theoretical economics, right? But again, there were certain problems, right? There were two groups and they were disagreed upon certain facts, and there were debates. The debates were going on between the two groups, and Weber used these debates as his baseline to develop his own methodological orientation, that how can you study the science society objectively. According to Weber, you can study this you can study the society, but he needs more a better methodology to he wants to develop a better methodology, or he needs a better methodology to study this society. So he used these debates as a baseline for his methodology, and he tried to bridge a gap between the two groups, right, and the origin of arguments to the two schools of thoughts. It was these two people who provided the methodological tools for Weber to build his sociology. So Dilthey and Ricketts, as when we were discussing Max Weber, we said that Max Weber was influenced by the Dilthey and Ricketts. So these two people have given him the ground to develop a methodological tools, right? What were the four issues on which the exponent of historical and the theoretical economics disagreed were? The theoretical economics involved the relative importance of deduction and induction. The historical economist blamed that the theoretical economist used the deductive method was faulty because their theories could not explain the reality. So there is a disagreement between the historical and the theoretical economics. The theoretical economics involved relative importance of deduction and induction, and the historical economics blamed that the theoretical economist uses a deductive method uses of deductive method was faulty because this theory could not explain the reality. The division between the two groups had to do with the universality and the relativity of the findings. there was a misunderstanding regarding the level of rationality and irrationality in human behavior. So it was very difficult to understand the level of what is rationality and what is irrationality in the human behavior. So there was a misunderstanding, right? And there was a difference between the two group that had to do with universality and the relativity of the finding, whether you can universalize the things or whether there is a relation between the things. The two groups had to deal with the issues pertaining to the economics as ethical discipline on the one hand and economics as a science on the other hand. The historical economist saw it as an ethical discipline that could solve the problem faced by the German society. As Weber was influenced by the Delphi. So, Weber and Delphi argued that nature and human behavior could be studied scientifically, but they produced different kinds of knowledge which was to be recognized. So, as per the Delphi, that it is we can study that nature and human behavior could be studied scientifically. We can study the human behavior objectively as we can study the natural sciences, but these produces the different kinds of the knowledge, right? You can study the human, as per Delta you can study the human nature objectively, but these produces a different type of a knowledge which was to be recognized, right? Delphi argued that the two sciences have different subject matters, and because of this, researcher in each field obtain the different kinds of knowledge. We discussed about it, the subject matter. Various sociologists discussed the subject matter of the sociology, right? So, as per Delphi, that the subject matter of natural sciences differs from the subject matter of sociology. Although you can study the scientifically study the society as the natural sciences, but as there is a difference in the subject matter, so you will get the different results, right? And so the researcher could get a different kind of the knowledge, and both type of knowledge according to Delphi is important. Natural sciences produces knowledge which is external, meaning that physical phenomenon are affected by one another in a way that can be seen and explained in terms of valid laws. So as per Delphi, that natural sciences, because the natural sciences and the social sciences has a different subject matter, they produces a different type of the knowledge. The natural sciences knowledge produces a knowledge which is external, meaning than the physical phenomenon, and they are affected by one another, right? And social sciences, the knowledge that is produces internal meaning, and each person has an inner nature that must be comprehended in some way in order to explain the event. So as per Durkheim, we can that there are the social facts and you can study the society externally to observe by observing it externally. But as per Delphi, that the social sciences, the knowledge produced by the social sciences is internal. There is an internal meaning related to the knowledge produced by the social sciences, and that internal meaning, that each person has an inner nature, and that must be comprehended in the same way in order to explain the events. So you cannot say that social, you can that it is an external fact and you can observe it externally. It is internal to an individual. In natural sciences, it is enough to observe event and the relationship. But in social sciences, researcher must go beyond mere observation and seek to understand each person's inner nature in order to explain the events and relationship. And these explanations can vary based on the cultural background of the researchers. So, as per Delthe, we can study the society scientifically, but there is a small difference. You cannot, as in natural sciences, researcher can observe the things or the events from the outside and can explain the relationship from the outsides in the in natural sciences. But in social sciences, the researcher must go beyond mere by observation and seek to understand the person's inner nature. And when one inner nature, why it is important to understand the inner nature in order to explain the event and the relationships. And these explanation can vary from society to society, from culture to culture, from group to group, right? For Weber, Dilthey was correct in noting that social sciences could be obtained different form of knowledge than the natural sciences. Weber agreed with Dilthey that social science statements are different from and must be kept separate from a value judgment of any sort. So, as per that Weber agreed to the Dilthey that social sciences statement are different from the natural sciences and must be kept separate from the value judgment of any sort. You cannot say that this is correct and this is not correct. That varies from individual to individual, from culture to cultural background, from society to society. So it should be kept away from the value judgment. The most important part that Weber agreed was that social scientific knowledge is to understand Vasthane, that subjective meaning people attach to their actions. So he has given the Weber has given the concept of Vasthane. Vasthane is what? The subjective meaning that the people attach to their actions. Why people are doing something? There must be some reason. What is the meaning of that action? It is very important to understand the action, the reason beyond any of the action. So Weber agreed that the social scientific knowledge is to understand the subjective meaning of people attached to their actions. So you cannot observe it, as per Weber, you cannot observe the things in the society from outside. One should be the part of that society so that he should understand the subjective meaning associated with individuals' action, right? So, Weber developed a different way of emphasizing the importance of Varsthane. Weber emphasized that importance of understanding the individual behavior, while at the same time he was able to assess the significance of historical event in an objective manner. So he has emphasized on both things, that is an individual action. He has emphasized on the Varsthane and he has given a due importance to the historical. He has given due importance to the significance or significant importance to the historical event in a objective manner. So he was influenced with the Delthe that one should study the objective meaning of individual's action. Weber and Rickert. Rickert was also concerned with the disjunction between the world of nature and world of human activity that existed. Rickert was of the opinion that reality could be divided into unlimited number of objects for study. These objects could in turn be broken down into unlimited number of parts, which meant that reality could never be completely understood, as there would always be some another way of understanding and looking at it. So as per Rickert, it is difficult to understand the things objectively or to understand the things by observing from outside. So as per Rickert, there could be the many things, many meaning associated with a certain actions, right? So the objects could be the object could in turn be broken down into unlimited number of parts, and each part could have a different meaning. So it is one could not completely understand. There could be the n number of ways to look at these certain things, right? So the problem that arose was, how could one then know anything about the reality? Rickert was of the opinion that human being could formulate a concept of those aspects of reality which they thought were important. Rickert concept formulation was an important tool in knowing the reality objectively. Rickert confronted that the problem how scholars select the topic for this study. Rickert asserted the researcher choice of topic is made on the term of the value relevance. This emphasis on the value relevance implies the subjective rather than the objective conception of the knowledge because the researcher are forced to rely on their own values. So Weber agreed that reality is unlimited and human being could know it in terms of concept used to select out significant part of the word for examination. So that Rickert said that there could be the n number of things. The reality could be unlimited, and one should select a part of it what you want to study, and Weber agreed to it that reality is unlimited and human being could know it in terms of the concept used to select out significant part of the word for the examination. Select the significant part of the word which you want to examine, right? So Weber thought that it is not important why a scholar chose one topic over the another because the selection of topic was determined by the values. So he has when we were discussing the Weber, we discussed that he has given emphasis on the values and the belief system, right? According to Weber, what was more important was that the research process need to be the objective, and this could be achieved when the data are clearly conceptualized and systematically analyzed. So he was Weber was influenced with Delphi and the Rickards. So he has taken this the debates or the Delphi and the study of the Delphi and the Rickards was a base for the study of the Weber. That this has given a base to the Weber. So, what was the Weber's view on objectivity? Weber's methodology of social sciences began with consideration of overriding importance of objective sociology. He was of the opinion that no scientific analysis can include ethical values within it and be regarded as objective. During the time of Weber, many did not believe that an objective sociology was possible, as values were not separated from the research process. But Weber confronted that the problem of values by observing that sociological inquiry should be objective or value free, right? So it should be what is value free sociology? By value free sociology, Weber means that the researcher's personal value and economic interest should not affect the process of social scientific analysis. So before Weber, the society objectively, it should not be value free. But as per Weber, it could be value free. Value free sociology means what? Value free, as per Weber, value free sociology means that the researcher's personal value and economic interest should not affect the process of scientific analysis, right? Objective analysis were possible if sociologists were use a rational method in which the research process is a systematic. That is, empirical data must be categorized in terms of clearly formulated concepts. Proper rules of evidence must be employed, and only logical inference must be made. So, how can you study this society objectively? As Weber said, that you one can study the society objectively through systematic methods. The systematic method, what all systematic methods involves? The systematic methods involve that the data should be empirical and it should be categorized in terms of clearly formulated concept. What type of a data you want to collect, it should be categorized in terms of formulated concepts. That it should be clear what type of empirical data one wants to collect, and the proper rules of evidence must be employed. That one should employ the rules, proper rules, and then logical inference must be made, right? Values and science. Weber said that there was no scientific way of choosing a topic of doing a research. There is no scientific way. One can choose as per one's wish. The choice of topic comes before the research is undertaken. The only basis of individual to choose a particular topic is value. But once the topic is chosen for study, Weber advocates that the scientist must follow an objective research process. Weber rejected the search for general laws in favor of historical theories and opined that the universal law exclude important and unique historical event. So as per Weber, that it is not possible to choose any topic scientifically, that the chosen topic, the researcher choose the topics on the basis of the values. Here the values plays an important role. But as per Weber, after choosing topic, that one should the researcher should carry out the research objectively. It should be value free, it should be biased free, right? So researchers should follow the objective research process, right? So ideal type, he has given ideal type. What is ideal type? What the Weber believed that only the use of ideal type could lead to an interpretative understanding. He has given, he emphasized on the interpretative sociology. Right? Ideal type concepts, according to Weber, helps to develop our skills of assertion in research. So, what is ideal type? That the use of ideal type could lead to an interpretative understanding, that how you interpret one's action or one phenomenon, right? And this ideal type concepts, according to Weber, helps in develop our skill of assertion in research. It is not a hypothesis, but it offers guidance to construction of hypothesis. Right? It is not a description of reality, but it aims to give a clear means to describe the reality. What is hypothesis? An educated guess is known as hypothesis. Ideal type is not an hypothesis, but it helps us to formulate a hypothesis, and it is not a description of reality. It doesn't describe a reality, but it aims to give a clear means to describe the reality, right? To create it, only those elements are selected from the reality which fit together in most rational and suitable ways. So it is very important to select only those elements which fit together in most rational and the suitable ways. The ideal type is utopia. It is mental construct which cannot be found to exist in reality. The ideal type is constructed by the abstraction and the combination of indefinite number of elements, which although found in reality are rarely or never discovered in this specific form. As he was influenced by the Rickert, and Rickert said that there could be the n number of elements which could be studied. So according to Weber, the ideal type is constructed by the abstraction. It is constructed by the abstraction. It is nothing but an abstract concept and the combination of indefinite number of elements, which although found in reality are rarely or never discovered in the specific form. With the help of ideal type, one can find out what degree is it similar or different from the reality. An ideal type is a means and not an end. Okay. Popper on objectivity. What is Popper? Popper understood the social and human science to be interchangeable. In Popper's logic, three dominant concepts characterized the social sciences are the scientific, objective, and empirical. What was Popper's view on objectivity? That according to Popper, the social and the human sciences to be interchangeable. In Popper's logic, three dominant concepts characterize the social sciences. There are the three concepts which characterizes the social sciences. The first concept is scientific, second is objective, and third is empirical. Popper understood the social sciences as a science, a position that attempts to refute the widespread idea that the social science represents a weak form of a science. So, first is it is scientific as per Popper. It is not a weak science. You can it a social science is a science, right? Social science is a science. It's not a weak science. Popper considered the social science to be objective. The second idea was objective, right? Popper placed the social sciences in social world which contain a definite physical forces. These physical forces give an objective character to the social sciences. So Popper placed the social sciences in social world which contains a definite physical forces, and these physical forces give an objective characteristics to the social sciences. According to Popper, we can study the social sciences as per the laws of natural sciences, right? Locating objectivity in an intersubject way, he highlights that the social world of a science as necessary to ensure objectivity itself. The exchange that happens, such intersubjective engagement as peer review and criticism can filter out biases. So if there is any biases, we according to Popper, we can study the social sciences objectively, and if there during the exchange that happens in intersubjective engagements, and through peer review and through criticism, one can filter out the biases, and when one can filter out the biases, we can study the social sciences objectively, right? So objectively then is not a goal in and by itself, not the achievement of an individual scientist, but a nest of autonomous, objective, and physical entities of social world, like communities, groups, institutions, and venues that criticize the researcher proposed theories. So, according to Popper, through criticism and through the peer reviews, one can filter out the biases, and because of this, he said that objectivity is not a goal in itself or by itself, right? And nor it can be achieved of an individual scientist, but it is a nest of many things, of autonomous, objective, and physical entities of social world, which helps us to remove the biasness, like communities, like groups, institutions, and venues that criticize their researchers proposed theories. Then objectivity derives from the combination of these social and physical forces. Objectivity is the byproduct of critical intersubjectivity, such that subject does not command on his or her own. So, objectivity, as per the Popper, objectivity is the byproduct of the critical intersubjectivity, right? So, it is because of the peer reviews, it's a byproduct of critical intersubjectivity, right? Such that the subject does not command his or her own, right? Reflexivity. So, before we proceed further, objectivity as per Durkheim, a quick recap as per Durkheim, we can study the society subjectively as we can study the natural sciences, and that social facts plays an important role. Social facts are what? Social facts are nothing but the things, and through observing the and by observing the social fact from the outside, one can study the society objectively. As per Weber, he was influenced by the Delphi and the Ricketts, and as per Weber, that one can study the society objectively, but he has given much emphasis on the values, that one show that the researchers that the value plays an important role while researcher is choosing a topic. But after choosing a topic, that researcher should be value free and should conduct the research objectively, right? And that interpretative, he has emphasized on the interpretative sociology, that interpretation of an event plays an important role. And then the Popper play says that it is we can study the that the social science is not a weaker science, it is a very strong science, and we can study the society objectively. But that the objectivity varies, that the peer reviews and the criticism of the various various researchers or the experts could lead to an bias free research or the study, right? Reflexivity. What is reflexivity? Reflexivity is the process by which the researcher reflects upon the data collection and the interpretation process. The term reflexivity has a different meaning in the different context. So what is reflexivity? What is reflexivity? It is a process by which the researcher reflects upon the data collection and the interpretation process. This is a term used in the wide variety of sense. In general, it means reflecting and specifically as a part of social research. Reflexivity is a process by which the researcher reflects upon the data collection and the interpretation process. Talcott Parson, Anthony Giddens, Harold Garfinkel have used this concept in their work. The two very important uses of the term can be identified. First is it is used to characterize the general feature of the modern social life. What is reflexivity? What is reflexivity? Is a process by which the researcher reflects upon the data collection, how data has been collected, and the interpretation process. And various sociologists like Talcott Parsons, Garfinkel, and Anthony Giddens use this concept in their work. And there are the two very important usage of the term, right? First is it is used to characterize the general feature of the modern social life. What are the general feature of the modern social life? And second is it is used more specifically to refer to the certain characteristics of the social scientist attempts to explain the social science. So what are the characteristics of the first is the characteristics of the modern social world, and the second is certain characteristics of the social scientist. The term reflexivity was coined by Elvin Goldner, who desired sociological examination of sociology. So reflexivity was desired. This term was coined by the Goldner. Remember this thing. A very substantial and exhaustive argument for so-called reflexive sociology found in Goldner's work, The Coming Crisis of Western Sociology. He translated that the methodological and the theoretical context of ethnomethodology and proposed reflective sociology. So we'll discuss about this in detail in our next lecture, right? So what is if I go by what is we discussed about the objectivity today, right? Objectivity in social sciences, that objectivity is very important. As when while we were discussing the Durkheim, while we discussed the Durkheim in detail, we discussed that as per that it is because of the efforts of the Durkheim that we are able to study this social sciences or the sociology as an academic discipline. It is because of the efforts of the Durkheim, and Durkheim was a positivist, right? And this objectivity has its roots in positivism, right? And as per Durkheim, we can study the social sciences objectively, right? How can we study the social sciences objectively? We can study the social sciences objectively through that is through social facts. Through social facts, what are the social facts? Social facts are nothing but the things which can be observed externally. When you can observe something externally, So you can observe something externally, and when a researcher is not a part of that, and when you are observing something externally and you are not biased, you are not a part of that, then you can study that thing objectively. So you can study through the facts, you can study the sociology through social fact, and not being a part of that society. Researcher, according to Durkheim, researcher should not be a part of that society. He should observe the things from the outside, and when the researcher observes the things from the outside, that person could be unbiased and can study the facts from outside. Weber, and then Weber, according to thing, and then he studied and then the Kim studied about the suicide, and he categorized the various types of the suicide, and he compared and contrasted the suicide rates of the various societies, and from various societies, and the and he compared and contrasted various groups within the society, and from this he concluded that no one can study it objectively, and and as per Durkheim, that it is because of the society which plays an important role, it is not the individual. Weber on objectivity, Weber was influenced by the Dilthey and the Rickert, right? And the arguments of the or the work of the Dilthey and the Rickert was the base for Weber's rules, right, of research rules. So according to Weber, that research should be value free, but while choosing a topic, the choice of the topic depends on the value of the researcher. It is not possible that the choice of topic should cannot be value free. That it depends on the value of the researcher. But after choosing a topic, right, the researcher should leave all the values and should be unbiased while conducting a research. The values, the topic, that is the chosen of topic or the choice of a topic depends on the values of the researcher, right? And as per Rickert, that there are the various elements, right, which could be studied, and it could lead to, as per Dilte, that there are that the uh, results that these that researcher, that we can study the society objectively, but the natural sciences results could vary from the social sciences result. So as per Weber, that one can researcher can choose a topic on the basis of the values, but after choosing a topic, researcher should be value free and should conduct the research unbiasedly. And how he could do that? He could do it through the ideal type. What is an ideal type? According to Weber, ideal type is nothing but a tool to conduct the research scientifically. Again, social factor is a tool to conduct the research scientifically or objectively as per the Durkheim. And ideal type, what is ideal type? Ideal type is a tool to conduct the research scientifically or objectively, right? That Weber has given a term Versthane is important. He has given that, and he introduced that interpretative sociology, right? Interpretation, that it is important to understand and interpret the actions why someone is doing something, right? And how uh, and the reasons behind an individual's action, right? So one can do it, one can study objectively, one can study society objectively through ideal type, right? And then Popper's on objectivity. Popper was again of the, according to Popper, that social sciences is not a weak science, it's a strong science, and we can study the society objectively. How can we study the society objectively? We can study the society objectively. It is even if the researcher is somewhat researcher could be somewhat biased, but then again the peer reviews or the criticism of various experts of the field could filter out that biasedness, and through this we can study the research or the society objectively. So it is as per so there are various methods proposed by the various sociologists to study the society objectively, right? Whether according to Durkheim, through social fact, yes, through social facts, we can study it objectively, because social facts are the things which could be observed from outside, and being not a part of any of the society, or being not a part of any of the thing, when one is observing something from outside, then one can study that thing objectively, right? And as per Weber, that ideal type is a tool which helps to study the society objectively. And he was very much influenced with the Delthe and the Rickert and the Delthe, and the debates of the two groups form a basis of the tools, or the basis of the methodology developed by the Weber. Weber has given a concept of the Versthane and interpretative sociology. According to Durkheim, it is because of the society. Society plays an important role, and while he was studying, while Durkheim was studying about the was researching upon the suicide, then he concluded that it is not an individual act, it is because of the society, or it is because of the relationship of an individual with the society, that suicide happens. It is not because of the individual's wish or will. And according to Weber, it is important that one should understand the and one should understand the actions, or actions of an individual, why an individual is behaving in that particular way, right? So today we discussed about all these things. That's all for today, and we'll discuss about reflexivity in our next lecture. Thank you very much. Namaskar.